Now in this last tutorial, we're going to do the whole reason that I made these tutorials to begin with, and that is to be able to extract the assets. Now this is something that Photoshop has been working at for the last while, I guess last year or so. They have introduced two new workflows. One is called the Adobe Generator, and what this allows you to do is to automatically generate files. And they've also worked on this new thing called the Extract filter. And so here's one sample of it, and basically the extract allows you to inspect like a Photoshop document and extract the different graphics from it, as well as CSS and all sorts of stuff. And it is a really cool workflow, and so we're going to take a look at it in this tutorial. The first one I want you to be aware of is called, let me go ahead and unselect. Well, I guess I'll have one layer selected, and that layer is my logo. I'm going to go up to the File, Extract Assets. And what happens is you'll see that it currently has the layer that I have selected up here. And I can go ahead and change it so that it will output this particular as a item as the, let's see, I can change maybe the name of it. I wonder if I can change the name. Yeah, I can double click on that and actually change the name somewhere. So I'll call that logo. It's hard to see here. Doesn't really show it to me, but it seems to be having some glitchiness. Oh, okay. If I don't show it, click on it. But I can output this thing at 25% the size, 50% the size, and even twice the size, which is really cool, and it will save them as PNGs for all of them. Now, since this is a vector graphic, I'm hoping that it outputs it at twice the size really well. So let's go ahead and hit extract, and it says it will alter the layer's names. Ooh, look at that. Let's take a look at what that does. And extract, and I'm going to extract it and just say, okay, it should be able to save them all where it was meant to go. And so here's what happened. It actually saved these things into a folder for me, and it saved them at 25% the size, which is tiny, 50% the size, which is also pretty small, and then even scaled to 200. And if I look at that, let's see what happens if I load that in Photoshop. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a background color. I need to make it black, because what I'm trying to see is how clean that vector graphic is. And you'll see, since it was a vector graphic, what happened was it actually re-rendered that thing at twice the size and made a really clean looking graphic for me. So that's an awesome feature of this software. Now, you'll notice that it named the layer a little different for me. It named it logo.png. Now, this is pretty cool with the extract filter, but it's kind of a pain if you want to be able to select all the layers and then go to extract assets and then have to do that for each time. You can actually do it just by naming the layers what you want. So for example, I've got a man drinking Coke, so drinking Coke, drinking dash man, and I'm just going to call that JPEG. Now I'll go to the next one, and this is drinking girl dot JPEG. Now, the reason that I find this really interesting is, number one, I do want to point out that I'm naming these files so that they will come up in the same name. Instead of man drinking, girl drinking, monkey drinking, it's drinking man, drinking girl, drinking monkey. I think that that is a smarter way to organize your files. And let's get to the child here, or the kid at least. Baby, and of course parrot. Gotta have the parrot. .jpeg. Now, there's something else that's really interesting about this, and this is what's called the syntax for Generator. And here's what you can do. I'm not going to do a heck of a lot of it here, but you can actually change the size that you're outputting and then put the file name and even change the quality of this. So if I want this parrot to actually be less quality, I could go ahead and say 10%. And that means that it's going to be 10% quality, whereas the drinking baby would be 90% quality. I think by default it's somewhere like 70% or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, I've got the people there. I've got my bottles, and that would be bottle 1 dot PNG. And the reason I want a PNG on this one is because I need the transparency of it. Bottle 2 PNG, and so on and so forth down the rest of my bottles. Then I've got my logo PNG, I've got my Twitter, and I might just do my Twitter logo. PNG. I've got my background, and I'm actually going to put that, I'm going to double click on the name, and that's going to be a JPEG image for the entire background. And also I can do all bottles if I want, all.png. So I'm going to output people there. I've got all my people here, and that can be an image strip, or I can do all the individuals like I have it. And I've got the title, so I'll do title.png. And I'm really outputting pretty much everything. This one thing I'm going to go ahead and delete. That was given to me by the extract filter. And I don't really need it because I'm actually naming my layers the way I want. I'm going to go ahead and save this as stage 7 so I know that it's different. And now I'm ready to go File, Generate, and Image Assets. And what this does is this generates the assets for me automatically. So here's the folder that it just output all of these graphics for me. Just like that. That is pretty darn cool. Now let's take a look and see what happens if I decided to switch back to a different comp. It should remember what's going on here. But now I'm switching into comp 1, and open happiness is white instead of being the color. And let's see what happens. And you'll see open happiness has now been turned back to white instead of yellow. So let me go back to that. And you'll see, boom. It automatically generates the images for me on the fly. You have to be careful about it because if you switch to a different comp, it will output graphics if you don't want to. So that's something that's new about the image assets. It's a really amazing feature, and I do want to point out if you go back to extract assets, it will actually show all the different items that you have in here, and if you wanted to go ahead and alter one of them and automatically output different sizes, like a 2x size as well, of these different sizes, then let's see, I think that's pretty good. Now we can hit extract. Let's see what that did. There, now you'll see it output a whole bunch more graphics for me. It output pretty much everything else at these large sizes. Oh, and by the way, here's that one. If you notice, that's the one we set to 10% quality, and you can see it looks pretty bad. Whereas the one before it, I think it was the kid. I think this one was at 90% quality. So very cool what you can do with extract assets as well as Adobe Generator, and I hope you explore this, and I hope you enjoyed this series of more advanced skills in Photoshop that kind of apply to web design. Please leave comments if you have some, and keep on designing.